He kept asking me over and over, where did you get this sample from, dog? I'm like, what do you tell me all the time? Because sometimes I used to ask him where he got a sample from. He said, B, you got to dig in the crates and find it. So I did him the same way. I
That's
did him the
funny.
exact same way. I said, look, well, you're going to have to dig through the crates and find it.
Welcome to Homemade. I'm Shannon Cason. I grew up around music. One of my earliest memories is my dad playing Stevie Wonder songs in the key of life on the 8-track player in the living room. Also, my Uncle Nate moved in our house when I was a kid. He lived upstairs and his record collection filled up the room from floor to ceiling. He'd play Sam Cooke and Donald Byrd and Marvin Gaye records while I fell asleep downstairs on my twin bed in my room. My mom would blast Gladys Knight, Patti LaBelle, Luther Vandross in her burgundy Ford while we drove around Detroit. And she also took me to concerts at the Fox Theater to see those same artists that she played all the time. I saw those people in concert. I loved music. And when I first heard rap, Rapper's Delight, Planet Rock, The Message, then I heard the Fat Boys, and I said to myself, I can do that. Mom and dad divorced by that time, and we moved with my grandma in Ecorse. And just like all the rest of my friends, all the other kids on the block, we all lived with our grandparents. I made friends with all the kids down the street. There was Ryan, Ed, Tootley, rest in peace to Tootley, Terrence, Brian, and BJ. More than all my other friends, me and BJ loved rap music. And we played crate ball in the alley, listening to LL Cool J on one of our boom boxes. The first time we decided to make our own rap song in my grandma's basement, we used one of those standard tape recorders, and we let a tape play of Grover Washington Jr. on the boom box, and we rapped in the microphone on the tape player, and then we listened back to it, and we sounded just like LL Cool J. Not quite, but, kind of. Then we started making press and play tapes with the dual cassette boom boxes and making our own beats. And I was good, but BJ was really good. And after a while, we had the whole neighborhood in the basement making posse tracks, like posse rap songs, and everybody had a chance to grab the mic and say a few rhymes. But it was obvious that me and BJ were the best at it. And it continued on and on. Beej moved from Ecorse to Southfield, and we kept in touch through the music. And also because Beej moved, our network expanded and grew. And we found out there were kids all over Detroit that were doing the same thing. They were making beats in the basement, and they were writing rhymes and making demo tapes. And we would all make these demo tapes. They would fill up side A and B of the Denon or Maxell cassette tapes. And these tapes started circulating around Detroit. And everyone would get a feel for what other crews in Detroit were doing and creating. Our crew was 31 Flavors. And some of those tapes were beats by a guy named JD. I met JD through Beej. Beej and him had a kinship through beat making, and I had access to a car. So me and Beej drove to his house in Conant Gardens neighborhood in Detroit, and we went in the back door of this small house and went downstairs, and there were records and steel support bars that hold the house together and record players, and I remember a built-in bar in my memory, and then there was JD, and he was a little guy to me. I'm a pretty big dude, so he was excited to play music for us, and BJ played music as well, and they played music beats back and forth. JD's beats were so soulful. It was like those songs that my uncle would play upstairs while I was downstairs on the twin bed trying to go to sleep. It was comfortable, familiar beats. Now, remember, I asked JD, how he get the beat, the bass on the beat, to stand out so much from the other part of the beat. And he put a mic to his neck, and he hummed some sounds through his throat with the mic to his neck. Then he pushed a button on the sampler. Then he pressed the keys to fine tune the sound and make bass lines with the humming sounds from his neck. And I was amazed at that innovation. And I left, and the next time I saw JD, we were doing shows around Detroit. We performed on the same stages. And then I heard he got a deal to make music with one of my favorite groups, one of my favorite hip hop groups of all time, A Tribe Called Quest. And I was wild. But honestly, I knew that he was gifted enough to do that. And life and music went on. And I was in college at Michigan State University, and Beej was still making music back in Detroit. So many other artists that had came up and entered the scene and grew from the scene. People would become international names, huge businesses and powerful executives from those times that we were hanging out at the hip hop shop, Michigan State University, and all the other places, St. Andrew. And we were just creating, sharing our craft. Then I got a call from Beej one day, and he said that he needed me to be on this demo that he was creating for Elektra Records. It's happening, Shannon. It's happening. So I drove from Lansing to Detroit, and we went straight in the studio. And when I walked in, I saw Proof. I was familiar with him from Detroit hip hop, the hip hop shop, and everything else. And there was JD, who had changed his name to J Dilla. And Beej was working on this demo with J Dilla and Proof, and they was going to shop it to Elektra Records, and Beej wanted me to be on 3 songs. So we went in the booth, and we recorded. And I remember walking out the booth, and Dilla had his hand to his mouth like he was breathing in his hand, and like he was impressed with my skills. And I asked if he can give me a rough mix down of the songs that we had created in the instrumentals. And J Dilla did, and the next day we did a live version of the song at Eastern Michigan University, opening it up for Bizarre, who's a part of D12. And I thought the beat by J Dilla was just so easy to rap to. Like other MCs that know what I'm talking about, it's like certain beats that are very simple to write or to rap to, and it was one of those beats. And since then, most of you know the story of JD, J Dilla. He made incredible music for many artists, including his own group, Slum Village, until his untimely death in 2008. And I had those tapes. I had those 3 songs that we did record, but I lost them through multiple moves and probably borrowing them and loaning them to people, and they got lost in the mix of life. But it feels like an honor that I got to record 3 songs over Dilla beats with Dilla in the studio, you know. But Beej recorded many more songs over the years, and here's a short conversation with my rap partner, Beej.
Okay, with a title, Welcome to Detroit. Just welcome you to Detroit, with the realness too. So I wanted to put people on there who, who's gonna spit, lyrically and represent Detroit, because I wouldn't have been able to pull this album off if it came out under a major, because they're not gonna let you just do a song and you can't just do an instrumental, and you gotta have this feature, and you gotta have, you JD, why don't you got Erykah Badu, why ain't you got so-and-so on your album? I would have to go through all of that instead of just putting out, Beej on this joint.
When did you meet Dilla? Go into that story.
I met Dilla. I knew who he was, and he knew who I was just from street shit, just from tapes being sent around. Like, we had little tapes that, everybody could hear and dub and shit like that. But he heard of me, and I heard of him already for like a whole year. I already knew who he was. But then it was like in the middle of the winter, going into 1994. It had to be like December, and we was at either Club 1315 downtown or either another club. But I was driving, and then I saw Proof and Dilla inside, that's when it was JD. It was inside the damn club, and then when Proof saw me, he was like, "No, you about to meet that nigga right now." I said, "Bet." And then he took him to my car, and then he said, "Play some shit, BJ." And when Proof You know what I'm saying? Told me to play some shit. I played 3 songs. And then that nigga Dilla was in the backseat going crazy. He said, nigga, I already knew who you was through the hood, but we never met each other. He said, here go my phone number. We got to hook up. No. And that was the rest was history. The next thing I know, within the next month, JD had me at his house teaching me how to work the damn SB12 and Kai and all that shit. We got cool just like that. Just off of friendship, off of music.
Yeah.
But then we was just in our zone ever since. That's how the fuck we hooked up though. Through Proof.
Yeah. Proof. Shout out to Proof and rest in peace to Proof. Definitely a Detroit legend in the music. Any interesting stories like recording, like early recording stuff? Because I remember you taking me to his house as well, and me and you just kind of hanging out over there. But any interesting stories?
Okay, the only interesting story that I really can say, during the time when me and you was after I introduced you to him, then we went to A-Mile, went to the studio, we did that song, Give a Little Time. I remember when we did that up there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the studio on A-Mile and shit. It was maybe like 3 weeks later. They told me to come to his crib. He said, dog, you can make beats for a few hours if you want to. But he said, you're going to be the special guest over there at my crib. He's going to be down there with you. I said, who? He said, nigga, wait till you get over here. And then right before I walked in, there's fucking Questlove in the basement from the roof. And that was dope.
That's dope.
And then Dilla literally left for like an hour and a half. At his mama, leaving me and Questlove in the basement, and we was just going through records. And that nigga Quest met me that day. And he was like, yeah, man, I heard a lot about you, blah, blah, blah. That was a real experience for me to get left in his basement with Questlove for an hour. And then JD came back and we were just vibing out. Me and Questlove wasn't doing nothing but just going through his record collection, playing records, bro. That was it. That was an interesting moment at that time, though, because you introduced me to a star.
I think he had a lot of respect for you. Ain't no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Even naming 2 songs after you and his relationship.
That was enough within itself. That was enough within itself. You know, I give him props on that too, because he ain't have to do that.
No, it was just respect. I think it was a respect for your craft as well. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a story with the Get This Money sample?
To Get This Money sample, yeah. What it is that's, I'm gonna be honest with you, that came from the song that me and you did. Me and you, Shannon, when we went to the studio, Give a Little Time, when we did that at that studio.
Yeah.
He kept asking me over and over, where did you get this sample from, dog? I'm like, what do you tell me all the time? Because sometimes I used to ask him where he got a sample from. He said, Beej, you got to dig in the crates and find it. So I did him the same way. I did it the exact same way. I said, look, well, you're going to have to dig through the crates and find it. And then, you know what? It was funny because we went to St. Andrews. It was just on a Friday night. House shoes was spinning. I had to take shoes down there with his records, whatever. And I saw JD that night. You know what I'm saying? And I said, what up, though? And I walked up to him, gave him 5, halfway hug, all that shit. And he put like 500 in my hand. I'm like, what the fuck is this for? This is what I said. I said, what's this for? He said, you about to hear in about 10 minutes, dog. Just chill. And then I'm sitting there on the dance floor, you know what I'm saying, at St. Andrews, and then Get This Money song drop. And I walked up to the nigga. I said, that's why you gave me the 500, because you found the sample. He was like, hell yeah, that's why I gave it to you. And that was good. Off of respect, because he didn't have to give me no motherfucking $500 for a sample that he found that I did originally.
What was that? What was the sample?
It was Herbie Hancock from the Sunlight album. That song ain't called Sunlight, so all of the listeners want to find it, but it's from the Sunlight album.
I like that.
Like,
see, you still got that producer mindset.
It's 7 songs on that bitch.
I know which song it is, but I'm just saying that's what's up. Because
of the parts on that song, that's why it was funny when J Dilla did it and he played it live in my face at St. Andrews. Said it don't sound nothing like the way I did mine.
Yeah,
that's what made it.
No, but see, that was a respect thing too, because at that time in hip hop, it was originality number 1. You had to, and if you even take somebody's stuff, because he had that a lot. People would take his samples. Like he'll have a sample, find a sample. Somebody else will find the sample, use the same sample, or use the same beat of his. You know what I'm saying? A lot of niggas was stealing. So I get it. I get why he gave you the 500 because he got the original inspiration is from our song. You know, you get what I'm saying? Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
And that was good. That was some like real hip hop shit to me.
What about me and you recording some songs with him? Because I in my memory, I feel like we did about 3 songs.
No,
you
we
may have did
did
more.
No,
I'm saying, but me and
we
you
did 3 at that same studio. When he took us to that studio, we dropped 2 songs a night, and I forgot whatever the other song was. Cause all them eight. That's when we was dealing with them down 8-acts and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some of them 8-acts, dog, you know what I'm saying, never got mixed down back then because he had a lot of loose songs back then. You see what I'm saying? And so some of the stuff that we recorded up there, we did do like 2 or 3 at the same fucking studio, but he was gravitating towards Just the Way I Feel Aside and Give a Little Time. Those are the 2 songs that he was gravitating towards, that he was trying to shop for us to do at Electra Records. Because after he heard it, he was like, okay, your boy E's got to be on half of the album. We chopping this shit to Electra. And that's how that shit went down. Never going to forget it, bro.
Break down the Welcome to Detroit song. Tell me the story about that Welcome to Detroit, Beej and them Part 2.
Okay. Beej and them Part 2, Welcome to Detroit. Oh, wow. I was working at Greektown Casino. Greektown Casino. I was working there. I was a barback. You know what I'm saying? And then while I'm up in there, I see Big Tone at the casino while I'm working. He's like, man, JD looking for you. What? He said, he about to do a new album, man. I said, well, give me his number. I was at Greektown Casino, and Big Tone, you know what I'm saying, my boy who's out cold, but you know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
And
Shout
when
out
he
to
gave
Big
me his
Tone.
number, I called, and I gave, when he gave me his number, I called JD the next day. He was like, yeah, man, I need you to just come through. I'm doing this album. I'm solo now. We'll talk about it, you know what I'm saying, when I see you. I said, bet. And then he told me everything that was going on with him from Village. He's solo now. He done left everything. And he said, all I need you to do is do one full song on his album. I'm like, okay, bet. But he didn't even have the beat together. I went to his house. He played like 4 beats. I said, well, this is the one that I want to rap on. Well, they ain't taking me 10 beats. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When he got to that 4th beat, it don't even sound the same way on the album because he had to chop it up differently for that sample. But that's how that happened. I did a whole full song. It was like 3 minutes long. But JD didn't drop his verse. So what JD did, he liked the song so much, he said, but I got to be on the song. So what I'm going to do is, I was going to take your, you know what I'm saying, your second verse off because we didn't have a hook. All we had is 2 verses. Like, I dropped 2 verses with a hook. That's how that process went down. Yeah, he called me 3 months later. He said, the song done. I took your second verse off, and then I got a hook. I said, bet, I'm fine with whatever you want to do. And that's how that song came out like that. I didn't even hear the finished product until 3 months later. He already had paid me to do my part, though.
Yeah.
But the song came out like that. I did a whole song over his beat. And then he basically took my second verse off, and he created the hook because we didn't have a chorus. It's like we did everything in 1 minute because the way I came up in his crib, we didn't know what we was doing. And I had to sit there, and it took me about an hour. I ain't going to slip in there, about an hour, 15 minutes to write the whole song. But I just did it right there on the spot. That's how that shit happened. It was like the spur of the moment type thing. Like, I ain't leaving this nigga crib without dropping something. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get you.
He could have gave me the beat, and I could have took it home and then came back the next day. You see what I'm saying?
But you just dropped it right there.
Yeah, and he respected that. He like, oh, so you really about to wait? He said, you take the beats and go home, dog, and then come back tomorrow to my studio. I'm like, oh, nigga, I'm about to write this shit right now. Right now, I'm about to write it. You know, whatever you like, keep. Whatever you don't like, keep. You know, don't keep. It was more or less like that. And he liked what the parts he liked, and then he dropped his second verse and took my other verse out, which I'm glad he did. But then, you know what I'm saying? That's
Classic
how that
song.
song was designed.
Classic song, man.
And I
Classic
like it.
song.
And I'm glad he did that hook like that too because I didn't have a chorus. It's like I'm writing a whole song in his face, but I don't know what to say on no chorus right now because I'm just like in all that I'm on your album. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, let me just write some verses and see what he come up with. Little lines like you screaming hot, wobbly, wobbly. I'm screaming yes by a lyrical slug go through a thug nigga chest. The only reason why I wrote that part because he was telling me about some fake ass industry people that was trying to do something, you know what I'm saying, like behind the scene type shit. So
Yeah.
then that kind of prompted the rhyme to say little silly shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I understood what he was talking about. It was a good night when I recorded that. We chilled for like 4 hours. That was a 4 hour process just to do that song. But it wasn't like a process where you just sitting there doing a song. We was
Yeah.
just
No,
sitting
you
there all right.
talking, you doing other
Yeah,
stuff,
playing music. We was
chilling.
multitasking. We was multitasking right there at that moment. I didn't even know he went solo. When I went to his crib, he told me anything that happened. And I said, okay, that's why you solo now. 'Cause, I had to ask questions like, why you ain't JD no more? Tell me all that. Why he had to change his name to J Dilla. That was a deep night. Well, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad he titled the name Beej in them part two because he told me a lot of shit that night. You know what I'm saying? On his behalf.
Much respect, man. All right. Much love too, brother. You know we
Much
brothers.
love.
Yeah.
Always.
Mm. Now that's homemade.